Hey kids, this is Ivan. How you doing? What better day than today to talk about Resurrection? I believe it was Wendell Conrad actually had another post in RPG Brigade. It's been a couple weeks now, I think. It was actually about, I think, Raised Dead. But I believe he was asking about, how do you handle that? Should there be some kind of consequences, etc. I think I got about around 50 replies or so, and it ran the gamut. And, generally we think of a spell like that or a mechanic like that in the game. It's usually Dungeons and Dragons or a variant thereof. A few other games have something like that. Back in the day when I was a kid, Resurrection was cheap, so to speak. We did it when we could. Sometimes you just had a guy that had, was able to cast that level spell. Maybe there was some kind of cost to it, so we did whatever we had to do to get the loot to, bring Joe back to life. Whatever it was. As time's going on, to me, I have a different tack on it now, and there were certainly a lot of people that had the same sort of mindset that I did. It varied. But for me now, role-playing games are at their heart really about making decisions, sometimes trivial, sometimes major. And everything we do, everything we decide, that we actually do, everything we say, well, these all have consequences. And one of those consequences sometimes, unfortunately, is death. And sometimes just getting maimed, but sometimes death. Sometimes it's your fault, you made some bad decisions, and sometimes it's just an unlucky roll of the dice. But oftentimes we put ourselves in that position where that unlucky roll of the dice, was more likely, so to speak. So, at that point, I'm not 100% against having some kind of resurrection mechanic in there, but I tended to fall into the camp of people that thought there should be some kind of penalty for it, or there should be, Joe shouldn't just come back completely unscarred. And how you do that in whatever game it is entirely up to you. But I like this idea that, maybe he just comes back different, changed. Maybe he was unhappy about leaving the Nirvana or wherever he ended up being. Perhaps there's some kind of emotional scarring. Maybe there should be some kind of mechanic involved with that. Maybe he's just a little unhinged. Maybe just a little bit different. And of course, on the other end, there should probably be a little bit of a penalty or risk to the person that's actually doing whatever kind of ritual, they have to perform in order to raise him from the dead. Maybe there's a slight chance that they just get switched, and the guy that was nice enough to cast that spell, well, now he's dead. Now what do you do? And I also like the idea that it should be some kind of ritual. I remember back, I did a video about, big magic, and I think it was from Swords and Wizardry. It might have been Matt Finch that was talking about the idea that those big kind of spells that weren't even really included in that version of the game, because it didn't go up, the spell levels just didn't go up that high. That sort of stuff, it should be a ritual. It shouldn't just be like, some guy snaps his fingers, okay, I can cast this level spell at this point. It should be a big deal, especially when you're bringing somebody back to life. It should be epic, and it should be fraught with danger and peril, and maybe you should never really know afterwards, like, how okay is this guy now? So, yeah, I'm not entirely against it, but I think it should bring consequences and weirdness and what have you. What do you think?